If they running their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge, now they back in the huddle. See, they know we can fight, new content every week. Me and Dr. Clyde, keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we driven, and they know we ain't quitting. Yoshi and Dr. Winner, keep on bringing the energy. Unity. See, they know we ain't stopping, and they know they got problems, and they ran out of options. If they know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Bring back learner, Afrocentric history, we see tomorrow. Karma is karma, I say what I say, I hear underwater. Till I see I fall off, then I bring y'all up on note. I'm back up on my Clyde winner. Clyde winners, 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 Clyde winners. Divine winters, Clyde winters, mind bender, Clyde winters. I'm Richard, ride with ya, master teacher, create masters, Clyde winters. Give respect to the elder, Clyde winters. I feeling somebody out there looking for me. I told you somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
We have to live by my heart. We have to live by my heart. I have not done wrong. I have not robbed. I have not stolen. I have not drained. I have not told lies. I have not stolen food. I was not stolen. I have not fornicated with the fornicator. I have not caused anyone to weep. I have not dissembled. I have not transgressed. I have not discussed secrets. I have brought no lawsuits. I am not wrong. I am not struck dead. I am not transgressed the law. I have not been hunted. Except when I'm talking about on the tongue. I have not made extolling. I have not bragged. I have not cursed. I have not been violent. I have not confounded truth. I have not been impatient. I have not cursed against somebody out there looking for me.
Dr. Winter's legacy is a testament to the power of knowledge and the unyielding spirit of exploration. His impact is felt worldwide, as he shares and enlightens at conferences, symposiums, and collaborative projects. His voice is a beacon in the academic world, challenging, inspiring, and always educating. His journey reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never-ending, and its impact is timeless. Dr. Winters teaches us to challenge the narratives and to learn with an open mind. As he always says, B1 is not a group, it's a lineage. Let his story inspire everybody to pursue knowledge relentlessly and to always seek the truth. Now let us welcome in the grandfather of research, the Trill OG himself, the Honorable Dr. Clyde Winters.
Let the researcher do the research. Oh, no. I don't get a kick out of telling lies. Let the researcher do the research. Oh, no. Spent years studying the times. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Yeah, let the researcher do the research. Yeah, uniting truth and kill the lies. Let the researcher do the research. I'll learn to debunk Respect is all that I ask. Dr. Winters. I was sent here to finish my task, to become the greatest researcher, and that's who I am. Dr. Winters. Yeah. Na 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 na. Let the research gotta tell it lies. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. I spent years studying the tides. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Black first, with strength we rise. Let the researcher do the research. Yeah, yeah. Unite in truth and kill the lies. Be one, be one, be one. Be one to win this
We have to
fight.
always
We must
remain
unite.
black
Stand up
first.
for the righteous and let your skin shine bright. Be one, be one, be one, be one. Lessons whispered at night.
What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? What up, family? You know, I want to welcome you again to this week's Black History Gems. Yes, yes. How you doing, Brave Coldwater? This is Black History Gems. Every week I try to come to you and I try to talk to you about various aspects of our history and try to lay down the truth. Yes, sirs. And ma'ams. I come here to tell the truth because, see, sadly, the history that we've been taught is a history in a sense that really has no real relationship with reality. This results from the fact is that, we've been taught a lie. And this lie, in a sense, is that we have no history. This lie, in a sense, is that we've been waiting over here, for hundreds of years, waiting for the European to come in and give us knowledge and give us, an understanding of the of our past. We've also been taught that they've come here and that we're a minority, and because we're a minority, that they're trying to lift up us and give us some. No, we're the majority in this country, family. No matter what they try to tell you, we're the majority in this country. And this is based upon, the laws of, of white supremacy. The law of white supremacy is that if you got a minority of black people, you wipe them out. That's what they did, in a sense, around the world. They wiped out every black population that they could find. But because we're the majority population in this country, they could never wipe us out. Because they couldn't wipe us out, that meant, in a sense, that they've had to try to, in a sense, instill in us this idea that we're a minority. Because, see, when you teach people that you're a minority, it's just like Sister Eve says. That's trying to tell you that you're a minor. Yes, they're calling you a minor. And what do you do with minors? Minors, you try to teach them some knowledge. Minors, you try to, give them a little heads up. Minors, you try to give them some game. But they can't give us any game. And the reason they can't give us any game is because of the fact, in the sense, is that they don't have any game to give us. No, we built this country, we made this country what it is. And because we made this country what it is, it can only go as far as we want it to go, you see? And most of the time, no European civilization has lasted longer than 200 years. After 200 years, they go into decline. And one of the reasons that leads to their decline and demise is because of the fact that, in a sense, slowly, in a sense, homosexuality becomes a predominant theme among many of the people in the European or Caucasian country. And as a result, the country goes into decline because, see, you can't move forward if you don't have children, and that's not encouraged under that type of proposition. But the fact remains, in a sense, is that I'm here to talk history with you, and we're going to talk some history today. And the history that we're going to talk about today is a history that relates, in a sense, to our very earliest ancestors in this country. Yes, our earliest ancestors in this country. And these people that we're talking about is, in a sense, the Paleoamericans. Yes. We're going to talk today about the Paleoamericans. The Paleoamericans are very, very interesting because it's the Paleoamericans that led to who and what we are, and it's through the Paleoamericans that you can find out more about our influence on history, our influence on society. Yes, because see, the Paleoamericans they left us with a keen understanding of how to move forward. They left us with a keen understanding of what's important in terms of our relativity. Yes, and this is something that must be discussed, must be recognized, because see, you look at this. When you look at this picture, we see these various, you know, reconstructions. Yes, yes, these are reconstructions of the earliest American people, Naya, Apina, and what we find in a sense is that these original, foundational Black Americans, our Paleo-American ancestors, they in a sense were led to who we are. We like to think in a sense is that many people, they like to inform you that you're foundational Black Americans, but you foundational Black Americans, why do you make up this lie? Yes, they try to call a lie. Why do you make up this lie that you're unique? Well, we're unique because see, yes, we are descendants of an Aboriginal Black population that lived in the Americas, but we're not necessarily, African. We have, in a sense, African ancestry because of our ancestors came from Africa, but we are a unique people. We're foundational Black Americans. And because of the fact that we're foundational Black Americans, we come to you every week to try to, in a sense, give you an understanding of who you are. So tonight we're going to talk about the Paleo-Americans. So let's get busy. You can go to my Patreon to see the slides. After I do this presentation, I'm going to put my slides into my Patreon account. You see, I want to thank those people who belong to my Patreon. You are the foundation of Black History Gems. Yes, you guys in my Patreon, you're the foundation of Black History Gems because it's you guys who give me ideas about videos. And I hope any members of my Patreon listening now, send me some ideas on what you would like me to do, what type of videos you would like me to present, and I'll try to do them. And this video is based upon, in a sense, one of the requests of one of the members of my Patreon. I'm on Twitter at Dr. Clyde Winters 8. You go there on Twitter, and here you're on my YouTube channel. This is Clyde Winters, my YouTube channel. Check it out. Also, you'll find that I have a lot of videos on TikTok, but my videos on TikTok, those videos, I most of them I didn't do myself. Most of those were done by the genius. Yes, they're done by the genius. That's Yoshimod, the genius. Yoshimod is a great guy. Yoshimod, he just has so much talent. You guys got to, in a sense, go to Gumroad, go to yoshimod.gumroad.com. Check out this brother's videos. And he made that video that I showed you earlier. Check him out because this brother is really, in a sense, giving us a foundation. He's really giving us a way to see the world. And what I love about the work of Yoshimod is that he puts into pictures, he puts into images, our history, our culture, our civilization, our beginning, and hopefully, in a sense, our future. What is FBA? Yes, what is FBA? I'm FBA. Many of you out there are FBA, but FBA is not a group. FBA is not an organization. FBA is a lineage. Yes, a lineage. A lineage is lineal descent from an ancestry or pedigree. As a result, we are descendants of the Black Europeans, African, and Aboriginal Blacks who built the United States. Yes, yes, yes. Those are our ancestors. We are, in a sense, foundational Black Americans. B1 is acknowledging your Black African ancestry in Mott, not heritage. What is B1? B1 is unity with Mott. Dr. Marie Childs has noted that Kim Djit Mott, to be Black, speak you Mott. Yes, yes, speak you Mott. Again, today I'm talking about the history of black people. I'm talking about these people. Here's some reconstructions, as you can see, Naia, Apiuna, Luzia. These are reconstructions of craniums. Yes, yes, they found these skulls, they found these skeletons, and they used these skeletons to reconstruct these. These are our ancestors. Yes, these are our ancestors. If you want to find out more about these and other black civilizations in the Americas, get my book, The World History of the Black Race. Check this book out. It's a survey book. It's a book that'll give you information about all the various black civilizations that ever existed. Get my book, African Empires in Ancient America. In African Empires in Ancient America, I discuss, in a sense, the various African empires. Yes, yes, African empires. I'm not like Ivan Van Sertima and the rest of those people, and they talk about the black contributions. No, I'm not talking about the black contributions. I'm talking about empires. Yes, black people had empires, extensive empires that extended over hundreds of miles. Yes, hundreds of miles. This is something you had to do. Then you can get my book, The Paleoamericans. And the Paleoamericans, this book I just wrote, this book I just published it. You can get it at Amazon.com. And what I do in this book is I try to detail, the history of the Paleoamericans, the first foundational Black Americans. Get this book. You get it at Amazon.com. It's at a reasonable price. So buy these books to learn more about the history of Black people throughout the world. Today we're going to talk about the Paleoamericans. Yes, yes, the Paleoamericans. The Americas were populated by multiple groups of migrants arriving at different times and via different routes. These routes included the barren land bridge route, Siberia to Alaska, the coastal route along the Pacific, Trans-Pacific or Austro-Asian route, and the Atlantic crossing, which in a sense was crossing, coming from across the Atlantic from Europe and Africa to come to the Americans. Evidence of these migrations led to genetic diversity among Native American populations, especially differences in craniomorphology, Pinam woman, Luzia woman, and linguistic diversity. Usually, when I talk about the Black Aboriginals, I usually, in a sense, refer to them as Aboriginals or Black Aboriginals. Native American, I usually try to reserve that for, the red man, but you can use, in a sense, Native American also as an identifier for the Paleoamericans, the first Americans. You see, when you think about it, is that the Black man has been under a constant movement. We've been moving from place to place. We've been, in a sense, marching or riding in chariots, riding in boats, but we've made an extensive impact. Yes, Black people have made an extensive impact, not only in Asia and Africa, but also in the Americas, North and South America. And it's because of, in a sense, our travels. It's because of our knowledge of navigation, our knowledge, in a sense, of minerals, that we've always been out expanding our influence throughout the world. That's why, in a sense, the ancestors of people in the Americas, the ancestors of people in Asia, and definitely the ancestors and people in Africa were Black people like you, Black people like me, Black people like us. The people of the Americas is a fascinating and complex subject with several migration theories, often debated and supported by archaeological, genetic, and linguistic evidence. Yes, 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 yes. What we're going to talk about in this particular video is we're going to talk about some of those various, possible migrations that people have made into the United States. Yes, one of the reasons that we look at migrations in relationship to the occupation of North America is because, as most of you know, much of North America up until maybe 10,000 BC was under ice. That meant that for tens of thousands of years, North America was under ice. Because of the fact that North America was under ice, we didn't see, in a sense, we couldn't see that migration of people across the Asian continent into the Americas. So we had to assume that people that came to the Americas prior to the end of the ice age, they would have probably came by boat, and as evidenced by the cultures that exist in the Americas, they usually came directly from Europe and also Africa. But these people who migrated in a sense here, they from Africa and Europe, they crossed the Atlantic Ocean. Humans migrated from Siberia to Alaska across the Bering Land Bridge, Beringa, during the last glacial maximum. That was around 20,000 years ago, when sea levels were lower. After crossing into Alaska, early people moved southward along an ice-free corridor between retreating glaciers. Most models place the migration around 15,000, 20,000 years ago, although some suggest earlier movements. Archaeological sites like the Clovis culture, dating to 13,000 years ago, and genetic studies show a connection between many people in the Americas and Siberian populations. There was also a coastal migration. Early humans migrated along the Pacific coastline using boats or following shorelines, avoiding the inland glaciers. The migration followed what they called the Kelp Highway. Yes, the Kelp Highway. The Kelp Highway is a rich marine ecosystem from East Asia to North America. This migration may have occurred as early as 16,000 years ago. This is supported by archaeological sites like Monteverde in Chile and early coastal sites on the Pacific coast, such as in the Channel Islands in California. But we also have evidence that man may have been in North America as early as 100,000 years ago, and this comes from a find in California, where they found that many mastodon, back in the day, many of the Paleoamericans, they would have mastodon burgers. Yes, they would kill these mastodon, hunt them down. And once they would hunt them down, they would, chop them up, and they would make them some hamburgers. Yes, they had mastodon burgers. And so we believe in the sense that this is evidence of this early influence of Black people in the Americas. The Solutrean hypothesis is usually associated with the Atlantic route. If you look at this picture on the right-hand side, you can see some of the reconstructions of some of the ancient people: Kennewick Man, Pinam woman, Naia, Luzia. But again, as you can see, that all of these populations showed this black phenotypical features, and wide noses, brows, eyes, lips, things like that. People from the Solutrean culture in Ice Age Europe, modern day France and Spain, crossed the North Atlantic via ice flows and settled in the Americas. Migration across the Atlantic, potentially along ice sheets using boats, occurred around 20,000 years ago, and they try to suggest that this may explain the rise of the Clovis culture. Then we have the Australasian migration. This is a migration that's supposed to have been people from Southeast Asian migration. Migrants from Southeast Asia or Australasia traveled to the Americas potentially via the Pacific Islands or even directly across the ocean. They sailed through the Pacific Rim or a southern route to South America, possibly, and this is interesting, possibly as early as 30,000 or 40,000 years ago. Ancient skeleton remains like Luzia woman in Brazil, which dates to 11,000 years ago, and DNA studies showing possible links to Australasian populations and some Native American groups, especially in South America, attest to this early migration. A lot of times when you're really trying to find out about the ancient settlement of the Americas, what we're looking at is archaeological evidence. Archaeological evidence is that evidence that archaeologists may find as a result of excavation. In other words, digging up sites and then finding ancient tools. And then also, in a sense, they use genetic evidence also to establish, evidence of a relationship. Black anatomically modern humans have been found in the Americas for over 100,000 years, yes. Evidence of these Paleoamericans have been found in Brazil and also in California. Yes. Evidence has been found in both of these places. Craniometrics. Craniometrics, that's the study in a sense of the craniums. Like after you die and then the skin leaves your body, then you have that skull, and that skull is usually referred to as a cranium. Craniometric qualitative analysis and multivariate methods have determined that the Aboriginal American population. This research indicated that the ancient Americans represent two populations: Paleoamericans, who were phenotypically African, Australian, or Melanesian, and a Mongoloid population. But it is very important to understand is that whereas the Paleoamericans, or this African prototype, or this prototypical black population, it has been found in the Americas for at least over 100,000 years. But we find in a sense that it's not until 6,000 BC that we find skeletons that we would associate with what we call the Red Indians today. So that means that it's, what was it, about 94,000? For 94,000 years, the Americas was mainly occupied by Black people like you, Black people like me, Black people like us. Controversies around the origin of the Paleoamericans. Hardilika, he advanced the idea that the Paleoamericans were homogeneous, a people that originated in East Asia or maybe Melanesia. Other researchers were not so sure. Dixon, Mbelani, and Rivet did not see the Paleoamericans as a unitary population from East Asia. They felt that this population was probably more diverse. Even though there was some debate on the origins of Paleoamericans, Hardilika ideas prevailed, and researchers began to accept the idea East Asia was the homeland of the Paleoamericans. Now think about this. If Dixon and the earliest archaeologists were sure, in a sense, that the original American population came from Melanesia, you see, what type of people do we find in Melanesia? Do we find the Red Indian type in Melanesia? Do we find the Chinese Mongoloid type in Melanesia? Do we find the Caucasian type in Melanesia? No. In Melanesia, we find people that represent the Black phenotypical type, or often referred to as the Negro or the African. So as you can see, these researchers, they've always known, in a sense, that the original people who lived in the Americas were Black, like you. That the original people who lived in the Americas was Black like us. So when they made up this idea, when they taught this idea that the original people who lived in the Americas were the red man, that was a lie, and they knew it was a lie. But they did this purposely to deceive you. They did that purposely to deceive us. They did that purposely to deceive even me. R.B. Dixon, in The Racial History of Man, noted that Australoids, Africoids, must have been one of the earliest, if not the earliest, man in America. Yes, that's what R.B. Dixon wrote. When we look at what he wrote, he said this is what he wrote. And let's look at that second paragraph. No, we can go. Let's look at the first paragraph. We can go down to the. I'll just read the entire paragraph. Thus, the Caspian and Mediterranean types are found in great strength along the northern and northeastern coast of the continent and in Greenland, appearing elsewhere except at one or two spots near the Pacific Ocean. The Proto-Negroid and Proto-Australoid types are also peripheral, occurring in largest proportion along or near the Pacific coast and in the region east of the Great Lakes. The evidence so if they were on the Pacific coast and on the east of the Great Lakes, that means in a sense that they were, it was a Negroid or Negro people or Black people across the entire continent. Look at that map from east to west, you see. The evidence afforded by geographical distribution thus indicate that the dolichocephalic types, that's a way that they identify Black people, ancient types, are relatively to the brachycephalic, the older occupants of the area. We come in both styles, dolichocephalic and also brachycephalic. The only difference is that one had more negroid features, stronger negroid features, and the other one would have, in a sense, features like many of the people from East Africa and stuff like that. But it's very important to understand that across this continent they were there. The reader has doubtless stare with surprise, not unmixed with horror, at the audacity of the statement that Mediterranean, Caspian, Proto-Australoid, Proto-Negro types will be found among the American Indians. Yes, yes, yes. That these types were widely distributed in the old world, or at least in parts of it, he would be wishing to grant that they had extended even into the island area of the Pacific. But they do not want to. No, they do not want to grudgingly say that we were over here too, because that's giving Black people the credit. That's saying, in a sense, that we should see Black people as being everywhere. He continued, we should next turn to the problems involved in the sequence of these early dolichocephalic types. But before doing so, a few words of reassurance must be said. The reader has doubt, you have to understand that they call these Black people the Mediterranean type, the Caspian type. All these people, in a sense, were recognized as Negroid groups. James Critters, a paleobiologist, he says that modern Native Americans closely resemble people of China, Korea, and Japan, but the oldest American skeletons do not. I repeat, James Critters, a paleobiologist, said that modern Native Americans closely resemble people of China, Korea, and Japan, but the oldest American skeletons do not. No, they do not look like them. See? He's done a lot of studies, in a sense, on the Paleoamericans. And as you can see, he's the one, we can see how this is how we get Lucia, one of the earliest. And see what they did is that, look at that. If you look at that, that picture, you can see Critters, James Critters, a paleobiologist. And you can see that reconstruction of Lucia. And you can see how they have 3, 2, 6, 4. These are points. If you notice, many paleobiologists, they're able to reconstruct the facial features of people who lived in the past based upon the craniums. This was first used by many police departments to try to determine. They might find a body, somebody was murdered, and they would bring in a physical anthropologist to reconstruct how that person looked, and that's how they're able, in a sense, to reconstruct the faces of these ancient people based upon their craniums. You see, but here we can see some of the reconstructions of some of the basic Paleoamericans. Here we see Naia going from left to right, Naia, Apuna, and Lucia. These are reconstructions based upon the skeletal evidence that archaeologists have found in the Americas. Okay, the Paleoamericans were phenotypically African, Melanesian, or Australian. According to Dr. Nida Guidan, the earliest evidence of man comes from Brazil 100,000 years ago. That's what she did for Brazil. But we know, because of the fact that they found mastodon bones in California that appear to have been eaten, been consumed, we assume by Homo sapiens. Now we believe that, in a sense, that man was in California 130,000 years ago. Think about that. 130,000 years ago. So again, some of the people that they found is Kennewick man, Penam woman, Lucia, and also, in a sense, Naia. These are some of the reconstructed Paleoamericans that we have. One of the interesting sites is a site in Brazil called Pedra Purada. And this site was excavated by Nida Guidan. Nida Guidan, she's an archaeologist that lives in Brazil, and she's done a lot of work at Pedra Furada and the Torca de Bocaraui. And in these areas, she's found evidence of settlement by populations in ancient times. Pedra Furada is a significant archaeological site in the Sierra de Capivara National Park in Piauí, Brazil. It has sparked substantial debate in the academic community due to its implications for understanding the early peopling of the Americas. Yes, yes. Pedra Furada is situated in the arid region of northeastern Brazil and is part of a UNESCO World Heritage Site due to its archaeological importance and the rock art that we find there. The site consists of rock shelters with evidence of ancient human activity, including artifacts and thousands of prehistoric rock paintings. Yes, yes. You know, these are prehistoric rock paintings from Pedra Furada. They can give us insight into how the people lived and what they did. And this is a very interesting site, you know. Due to its archaeological importance in rock art, the site consists of rock shelters with evidence of ancient human activity, including artifacts and thousands of paintings. Yes, this is Pedra Furada. Excavations at Pedra Furada have yielded dates as early as 50,000 to 32,000 years before the present. Based on radiocarbon dating, challenging the traditional timeline of human migration to the Americas, which generally places first arrivals around 15,000 years ago via the Bering Straits. Yes, yes. Although, in a sense, they claim that people crossed the Bering Straits between 15,000 and 10,000 years ago, we find, in a sense, the evidence from Pedra Furada down in Brazil shows that humans were here as early as 50,000. There's a lot of other sites too. Skeptics argue that the lithic artifacts may be naturally fractured stones rather than human-made tools, and that the charcoal could be the result of natural fires rather than human activity. Because, see, in a sense, because of the fact that they found charcoal in a hearth down in Brazil, they assumed that humans had used this charcoal to cook their food, and that's why often, in a sense, the archaeologists will speak of charcoal as evidence of early human habitation, human occupation, because often, in a sense, people cook their food so that they could digest and eat it. Proponents of the early occupation hypothesis argue that patterns in the stone tools and hearths are consistent with human behavior. Here's some pictures that they found at this particular site in South America. If the early dates are accurate, they suggest a much earlier human presence in South America than previously believed, which could imply alternate migration routes and a coastal migration. The site's rock art provides insight into the symbolic and artistic expression of early inhabitants who lived in this part of Brazil. Pedra Furada is one of hundreds of archaeological sites in the Sierra de Capivari National Park, making it an epicenter for studying the prehistory of South America. The site's unique landscape and cultural artifacts have made it a priority for conservation. Yes, yes, it's a priority for conservation because, you want to check it out so you can find out how people lived back in the day. Ongoing studies at Pedra Furada involve improving dating techniques, comparative analysis with other early sites in the Americas, and a deeper exploitation of the relationship between early humans and their environment in this region. Pedra Furada remains a critical but contentious piece of the puzzle in understanding human migration and the early history of the Americas. It continues to inspire both scientific inquiry and debate. Yes, yes, that's Pedra Furada. Nieda Guedan, she's a Brazilian archaeologist, She's known for her work in prehistoric archaeology of South American civilizations and her efforts to secure the conservation of World Heritage sites such as Sierra de Capivari National Park. Educated in Brazil and France, she worked in Paris for most of her career. Since the early 1970s, Guedan has conducted archaeological research in Southeast Piauí, where thousands of archaeological sites have been discovered. This is it's very important in a sense that people get into this field. It's sad that there's very few, if any, Black archaeologists, and one of the reasons is that it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money to be an archaeologist, because a lot of times, in the sense, to study archaeology, you not only have to attend university, you often have to have money to be able to travel to sites to do excavations. You might have to stay in college a little longer. For example, if you were doing archaeological research in down in Mexico, down in Latin America, if your native language is English, well, you want to learn in a sense how to speak Spanish. If you're doing research over in Egypt, you want to learn Arabic or Chinese. So a lot of times, in a sense, to really be a good archaeologist and to really study these places, you have to have a background in language. That's why I'm always, for those of you who've been joining me on many of my discussions related to Black History gems, Black History themes, then you can understand the importance of being able to read a foreign language. I was very lucky. I was very lucky because I grew up on 47 and Evans, and on Cottage Grove there was a Moorish Science Temple back in the day when I was younger, and I used to go around there, and some of the brothers there would teach me Arabic words and stuff like that. And so I had a itsy bitsy, knowledge of Arabic, even from maybe from 11, 12 on up. And then when I was at I went to DuSable High School, and at DuSable I studied the French language for 4 years. So when I graduated, I had a very good French vocabulary. I had a very good French accent, and I could read French, the French language. So that gave me a heads up. And then I knew a little Arabic. So a lot of that stuff helped me when I was able to go to university. Because when I went to university, I could take my background in French and my basic knowledge of Arabic to be able to do research related to Black history, which back in the day was written mainly in French. It was also in German, but I had bought several books so I could get a reading knowledge of German back in the day. But again, those are the things you had to do to be a researcher back in the day. Her dates for those sites indicate that human settlement preceded North American Clovis people by tens of thousands of years. Because remember, I told you earlier that the Clovis sites go back to about 10,000, 15,000 BC. But her research in Brazil showed that people had been here since 50, 60,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago. In the late 1980s, these findings challenged the mainstream theory of Clovis first and have generated debates in the academic archaeological community. She was the founding president of the Padacao Museu de Homem Americano, American Man Museum Foundation, a nonprofit organization created to support the Sierra da Capivara National Park, a World Heritage Site. Guedan has won several national and international awards, including the Prince Claus Award and the Ford Conservation and Environment Award. Here's another picture of Anita Guedan, and this is to kind of show her work in Brazil. And as you can see, often, it's very interesting is that it's only about 1,200 miles that separate Brazil from Africa. It's only about 1,200 miles, 1,200 miles. Do you know that's less miles than driving from Chicago, the Chicagoland where I live, down to Florida? Yes, 1,200 miles is it's a distance, but it's not really a great distance when you think about how things are separated worldwide. You see. Eurocentrists love to lie about ancient American history. They burned down the museum in Brazil where they had the Naia, the Luzia, reconstruction. Yes, they burned it down. And after they burned it down, in a sense, now they're trying to say that instead of, in a sense, having Luzia really show her Africanness, as in the bottom picture, they've been trying to, in a sense, use the, look at that bottom picture. They're now trying to, in a sense, say to Luzia, look like the feature on the left instead of the original reconstruction. It's they're trying to whitewash it, and the reason that they've changed it, Brazil is a country that is basically light-skinned Caucasian wannabe people who run the country, and so then therefore they want to, in a sense, try to tie themselves into the early history of Brazil. So they've been trying to reconstruct how, in a sense, the ancient inhabitants of Brazil looked, so that they can, say, hey, we're the ones, And so Eurocentrics made the new reconstruction of Luzia to look more Caucasian, because it can allow them, in a sense, to feel that, hey, there's a relationship between the two. And that, you see all of us white folks here today, we were here back in the past too. Europeans spend all of their time, yes. Sadly, Europeans spend much of their time trying to steal our history because they don't have a history. Granted, Europeans have been the dominant group over the past, past maybe 200 or 300 years, not maybe the past 200 or 300 years, off and on, they've dominated certain areas. But that's a minute period when you really look at the history of Black people ruling the world. The first Eurasians were Black. The earliest people that lived in Siberia were Black. So all these people were Black, and that these people, in a sense, who came from Siberia to the Americas, they were in a sense, Black people. The first Eurasians were Black. The Eurasians were Khoisan. These original Eurasians carried African genes. The Ma Chao carried haplogroups U and R1. These are African haplogroups. The first Europeans, like the Paleoamericans, were dark-skinned. The ancient DNA of the first European comes from the Uthishim skeleton from Siberia. Uthishim man also carried, in a sense, the R1 Y chromosome. Although these haplogroups are assigned an Asian origin, Africans also carry these M subclans. You can look over there and you can see up in the top right-hand corner, Naia, Apiuna, and Luzia. These are all, reconstructions of ancient Americans. These people, they usually, in a sense, carried many genes. Some Native Americans present sub-Saharan African admixture. The Mandi speakers carry mtDNA haplogroup A, which is common among Mexicans, namely the Miche and Mixtecs. In addition to the Mandi-speaking people of West Africa, Southeast Africa, Africans also carry mitochondrial DNA A. Haplogroup M was a common Paleoamerican haplogroup. Paleoamericans carried haplogroup M. The 5,000-year-old skeletons from China Lake, British Columbia, carried the M haplogroup. This was confirmed by Mahai et al. In 2007, who found that the skeletons belonged to haplogroups M, exhibiting the ALUL site, at the NP at 103.97. He was unable to match the China Lake skeletons in DNA to C and D. Yeah, it's very important to understand, The first Europeans, like the Paleoamericans, were dark-skinned. Look at that picture. As you can see in this picture, we have Naia. On the left-hand side, in the middle, we have the Cro-Magnon man. He's from ancient Europe. And then we have Luzia. As you can see, these people were related. Let's look at the pictures, But not only were they related, they would call this lookism, because you can see that they're related. They also related because they carried, in a sense, many of these skeletons also carried what was called, on the male lineage, R1, and they also carried the M and U, For example, the R1 haplogroup was carried by the Maata boy in Western Eurasia, and this haplogroup was also carried by Anzic boy. So again, in a sense, we can see that when you look at the Paleoamericans and the first Europeans, you can see that these people, in a sense, were not only dark-skinned, but you can also see that these people shared many phenotypical features that are common to what we call Negro or Black or African people. Yes. So we can see here the first Europeans, you see, Naia, and then we see the first Europeans. There's Chatterman, who was found in ancient, with the long hair. That's Chatterman, who was found in Britain. And we see Cro-Magnon man that was found in in Europe. So we can see from Britain all the way across to Asia, it was the same people, black people like you, black people like us. When you look at they did a comparison of the Anzac boys' empty DNA and modern DNA, and they found in a sense that the empty DNA was in a sense M. I got this from a lot of sites, back in the day, because see, a lot of times when they examine the DNA of ancient people, as a layman, you assume in a sense that they just found one haplogroup. No, usually in a sense when they do an essay, when they evaluate the empty DNA of ancient people, they might find other empty DNA matches. For example, my NIMSY board, they found M1A, M1A1B, M1B1, M2, M2A3, M23, M3, M30C, M30D1. They found matches to all of these, various haplogroups. And what they do is that whatever is the largest amount, then that's what they say that they carried, But it's very important to understand is that when they do an essay, when they analyze in a sense, the DNA of these skeletons, or even your DNA. If you notice, even your DNA, if you've taken a DNA test, let's say you got some from Europe, some from Africa, some from Asia, all over the place. And see, this is what they do. That's what happens in a sense, but given even more detail when they're looking at these ancient skeletons. And that's why, in a sense, you can see that Anzac boy had all these empty DNA matches to modern DNA, But then they'll just say, okay, why not? So they just say that the empty DNA haplogroups M73, M21, M11B, the Y haplogroup J2, R2, H1A. So these are just the various groups. So, but again, in a sense, when you hear about these people, they want you to believe in a sense, this is something different, this is something new. It's just like when they talk about Neanderthal man, they try to make it look like Neanderthal man, some type of wild man, some type of an early Caucasian type. No, he wasn't early Caucasian. He didn't look like the way they present him in many of the popular presses. Neanderthal he just looked like the average black person. The only difference is that across the brow, the cranium was a little bit thicker. See, in Homo sapiens, that's who we're supposed to represent. We have, in a sense, our brow is not as prominent as among Homo sapien, which would be early man like Neanderthal and some of the earlier groups, But, racists now claim that Anzac man's haplogroup is QL54, They say it's Q, when really it was R1 back in the day. So, they changed it. See, a lot of the changes they did, I really believe a lot of the changes that the Europeans did in terms of trying to talk about the DNA of ancient people is due to my research. I published a lot of peer-reviewed articles back in the 80s and 90s. I was thinking about in the early 2000s. I think my last published paper was around 2010, somewhere between 2010 and 2015 or something. And 2010, 2020, I don't know. And so then, but again, in a sense, is that a lot of people, because I published a lot of peer-reviewed articles about the haplogroups carried by many of the Black Native Americans, some of these articles are used in cases where people are trying to fight to get reparations. But and the thing is, this is that they had to try to start to give choose different names, and as I said, because of the fact that when they analyze the DNA, you can find various M haplogroups, maybe a lot of different Y chromosomes. Then they can always change it around, even though they'll belong to the same family. For example, they might say that they, instead of carrying R1, they were carrying Q. R1, Q, and C, they're all the same Y chromosomes. But in the sense that there are different levels, but this is just to cause confusion. And see, that's why if you don't look at the DNA when these people first do the studies, and they're going to confuse you because they're always changing the names. And if you don't keep up with the names, if you don't keep doing the research, you're going to be a confused person, But we find in a sense that they try to tell you that the Y chromosome R1 is a European haplogroup, you know. And you find in a sense that that just let's look at the R1 haplogroup. You know, they really try to avoid a lot of times talking about Native American haplogroups, because most Native American haplogroups either go back to Africans or Europeans, you know, because there is no straight group. For example, RM29, which is found among many Native Americans, 21.9%, is 17.3% among, you know, Afro Americans. But that's what they found in this study. When they did research, let's look at that pie chart. When they did research on 115 African Americans, they found that 23% carry R1B. And because R1B is also carried by Europeans, they try to say, oh, that just shows white in the mix. Hey, I don't show no white in the mixture, because African people have always carried that R1B. In fact, the R1B, known as V88 in many studies, it goes back to 7,000 years ago, and it was found among Black people in Italy. Yes, Black people in Italy had R1B. But again, this is just to confuse you. But it's very important to understand is that many of us today carry the Y chromosome R1, and this is interesting because they found skeletons dating back 8,000 years old in North America that also carry R1. So what we do is that the presence of R1 today and the presence of R1 10,000 years ago shows continuity. Yes, it shows continuity in the African American population. You know, Kennewick man is also considered in a sense to be in you know, the Black type. In fact, he carried the haplogroup X, which is also a haplogroup found among many Americans. You know, American Indians carry haplogroup X. And you can find that it's been found among many skeletons, you know. And as a result, you can see that you can see Kennewick man, and then you can see Kennewick man reconstruction in that picture, you know, along with some of the Indians that came from California. Those are some of the California Indians that Europeans saw when they went to California, and they recorded the people in the sense that they saw. And as you can see that the Californian people, they were Black Indians, just like you, just like me. Pinham woman, also known as Pinham, you know, the third, refers to the skeletal remains of a Paleo-Indian woman discovered in 1959 near an ancient lake bed in Pueblo Pinham de los Banos, you know, in Mexico. So this shows as early as 10,700 BC, they reconstructed the person. And again, Pinham woman, like Lucia and the rest of them, was what? She was Black, a Black woman. But you know, they did a lot of research, and this is a Cavella. This is a Cavella tribe, and this is some of the California Indians, and this is how they were depicted, how they recorded. The Cavella tribe is the name given to various Christian Native American tribes that lived at Fort Calvel. They include Native American groups, you know, that were not exterminated by the whites. You know, the 12 Colville bands are the Mathau, the Okanogan, the Arrow Lakes, the Sampoli, the Colville, the Nespilam. You know, see these, as you can see, they were Black people. It's how they recorded them, you see. But today, they'll deny any Black person who said that they were, in a sense, related to these Indians, because they've, in a sense, convinced everybody that you had to be a red Indian to be an Indian. But as you can see, this is how these Indians in California look. Not just this type, they had other types too. You know, here we can see some of the various Indian groups, and now there's other Indians that even were even more Negroid. See, you know, but California Indians had various phenotypes. Most California Indians sadly were exterminated, and you know, a lot of them were exterminated. What they did is that you know, a lot of red Indians, they you find them all over the country. You find red Indians from North Carolina all the way over to California. A lot of these people are not members of the original tribes that lived in those areas. You know, in cahoots with the white man, a lot of Red Indians, they would go to some place and then they would just say, hey, we're the Indians that have always been here for hundreds, thousands of years. No, they're not the originals. They would just go places. They would take our names of the black tribes that lived there. Then they would, then they're able, in a sense, to get a check from the government. Yeah, it's kind of like a hustle, you see. You know, the Paleoamericans carry the African M1 haplogroup. Haplogroups M and D are the same. Yeah, you know, a lot of times they'll say that instead of saying that that the various Paleoamericans carried you know, M haplogroup, or they say it was D. See, and M and D they're the same. But what they do is, again, it's to try to make in your mind see a difference. If you don't really study these things, you think it was a difference. Now here you can see, in a sense, Naia. You can see a Mongoloid Native American. You see. And in a sense, you can see Luzia. But then we look at the Mongoloid people, and you can see that really, in fact, most of the so-called Native Americans, they don't really look so Mongoloid. Yeah, they have those Mongoloid people. A lot of it comes from the fact, that's why they're unique people. It comes from the fact that they early mixed with a lot of black people. And that's why, in a sense, they have those strong features, in a sense, you see. You know. So, you know, that's where you can see it. But here's a Mongoloid Native American, and then you can find the Paleoamericans, Naia and Luzia. And you can see that the Paleoamericans look nothing like the so-called Native American type, you know. The Paleoamerican genetic signature includes Y chromosome lineages Q and R1, and mtDNA M and D4, which is the Asian name for haplogroup M1. The Paleoamericans carry the African M1 haplogroup. Naia, Anzic 1, they carry a haplogroup D. And haplogroup D, as I said, is nothing more than M1. It's the same shit, but again, they want you to think they're different so that you will not see the connection between black people in Europe, black people in Americas, and black people in Africa. They don't want you to see that continuity, so they just teach a whole lot of bullshit, you know. And here's some of the reconstruction of the various groups. In conclusion, much of the DNA for Luzia, the 12,000-year-old skeleton from Brazil, is corrupted. But research have recovered ADNA from Naia, Mexico, and the Anzic boy. You know, the Anzic boy shows, in a sense, that the Anzic boy belonged to mtDNA M or D1, and they carry the Y chromosome R1. And this is same haplogroups that were carried by, you know, Chowderman and other people, you know. Again, you can go to the Patreon. The slides for this presentation in Black History will be found on my Patreon site. So join my Patreon. Support me in Patreon. I need your help. It's the people on Patreon that provide me with the funds to be able to buy the latest books and get the latest articles that are under paywalls. Yes. Some of the newest information that scientists discover is behind a paywall. And you had to pay money to read those articles. You had to pay money to buy the latest books. And due to the support of my Patreon, thank you so much, Patreon members. Thank you so much for your support, because you allow me to be able to do this research, to be able to bring to you these Thursday presentations. You can go to Twitter and find me at Dr. Clyde Winters 8. You're on my YouTube channel. Don't just come here. Yes. Don't just come here. When I'm doing my videos on Thursday, I have over 400. Got about 400 videos here, and they deal with every aspect of Black history. Check them out. You know, if you haven't subscribed right now, subscribe to this video and press the like button. It's not going to hurt you, is it? And then press that bell so you can be notified when I do another one. Right now, subscribe. Even if you think you subscribed earlier, subscribe again, because they may have took you off. A lot of people tell me they don't even get notices when I'm doing my videos. So make sure that you subscribe, press that like button, and you know, make a comment. You know, if you disagree with something, make a comment. If you like what I wrote, make a comment. Please make sure, in a sense, that you interact with me. You try to, in a sense, let people know. And thank you so much for joining my Patreon. Thank you so much for visiting this particular presentation. Again, You can buy my books, The World History of the Black Race, African Empires in Ancient America, and get my latest book, The Paleoamericans, the first foundation of Black Americans. Get these books so you can know about the latest information. You see, the latest information on these Paleoamericans, these Black people that built civilization in the United States. Check it out, I want to thank you guys for visiting with me again this week. Thank you because it's you that allow me to be able, in a sense, to do the research that I do. It's you, in a sense, that allow it. How you doing, Hardcore? How you doing, M. George? Ados Alejo, Black Scrappist, The Gamer, and Dorville. Thank you guys for joining me again. Thank you, and see you next week. I'm here every week, 3 p.m. Central Time, and I'm giving you these lectures. But remember, in a sense, I can only do these lectures. I can only write my books because it's you, Karen. It's you, M. George. And it's the rest of you who belong to my Patreon that provide me with the financial support that allows me to do these things. Please continue to help me out. Please continue to support me. And please, in a sense, remember that we're out here to spread the knowledge, And if you can't really speak up, support the ones that do. Yes, support the ones that do.
If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Vampires, they prey on your fears and stay away. Vampires, they prey on your fears, control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them take control your atmosphere. Distraction or enemy. I am you and control your atmosphere. Don't let them take your energy. Don't let them suck your energy. It's a distraction away from me. I am you and you are me. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. If you're not going to speak up, support the ones who do. Nobody but yourself. Don't follow. I said nobody but yourself. Don't follow. Nobody but yourself. Don't follow yourself. Nobody yourself. Nobody but yourself.
Some people have asked, yes, my latest books, you can find them on Amazon.com. So if you're interested, buy my latest book, The Paleoamericans, and my other books. And remember, in a sense, is that support, you got to support us. You have to support the people who are out here trying to do the research, because it's only by supporting us that we can bring to you the latest knowledge. I just really appreciate that you guys come and you're with me, And Carol says, please write a children's book. I haven't written a children's book. I've written books that you maybe could use for elementary school, for people 12 years old. Yoshima the Genius has written a very, very good, he's written a very good children's book. And if you're really interested, try to check out some of the work of Yoshima the Genius. Here's one of the books that he's written just for children.
Parents looking for a story that would not only captivate your little one's imagination, but would also teach valuable lessons. The Bloom
bedtime story for the young at heart. Takes your child on a magical journey to ancient Kemet, where the goddess Sister Andito brings life, love, and healing. Through this enchanting tale, your child will learn the importance of nature, compassion, and positivity, all while discovering the rich history of Kemet. It's a story that inspires self-mastery and love for the world around them, making it the perfect bedtime read for little dreamers. Available on Amazon now, The Bloom not only nurtures young minds, but also supports the FBA community. Grab your copy right now and give your child the gift of adventure of learning. Order The Bloom today on Amazon. Thank you. Hotel.
Yeah, the thing is this, is that try to check out, Yoshimar the Genius. He's done a whole lot of great work. In fact, he's written 4 books. I've been trying to get this brother to go ahead and then make his stuff known, and hopefully, you guys will support some of his work, because he's written some great books. And these books, in a sense, will really inspire your children and help your children to understand what's going on. And one of the things is that what really makes him such a great person is because of the fact that he's blunt. Yes, Yoshimar the Genius is very blunt.
Because I am blunt. I am blunt. I am blunt. I say what I want. I am blunt. I am blunt. I am blunt. I say what I want. I say what I want. No restrictions, no filter here. Only the truth get revealed. We all want the truth and I ill. We all want the truth and I ill. Tell me I'm wrong, make the correction. Something went wrong, you switch the directions. Hate me so much, you block my blessings. Truth should set you free from exceptions. Loving me. Yoshi. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'm Yoshi. Yeah. And that's a X. And TR. You probably be mad at me for what I might say. Hey. You probably be mad at me for what I might say. Hey. You probably be mad at me for what I might say. Hey. You probably be mad at me because I am blunt. I am blunt. I am blunt. I say what I want. I am blunt. I am blunt. I am blunt. I say what I want. I say what I want. No restrictions, no filter here. Only the truth get revealed. We all want the truth and I ill. We all want the truth and I ill. Tell me I'm wrong, make the correction. Something went wrong, you switch the directions. Hate me so much, you block my blessings. Truth should set you free from exceptions. Loving me. Yoshi.
This soldier's reaction when he saw his twin sister after.
It's not hate to say that we.
Did you see the one tweet? He goes, I don't know why Kim Jong-un said I was old. I would never.
Again, check out Yoshimar the Genius. Check out some of his work, and support the brother, because again, he's written some nice books and he's got some good stuff. Reparations, baby, reparations, baby, reparations. We deserve reparations. We deserve reparations like yesterday, not just today. No, not just today. We deserve our reparations. Give us our money, baby. Cut the check.
Cut the check black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. Cut the check black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough,
Our identity and our culture as Black foundational Americans. Yes, yes. Wars between black Indians and whites were manufactured to produce black slaves for whites. The English, the French, and the Dutch provided the Native Americans with guns, rum, and cheap goods to purchase Native American Indian slaves. Between 1670 and 1720, many black Native Americans were enslaved. The black Native Americans were sold into slavery throughout the 13 colonies, Mississippi Valley, Canada, and the British West Indies. The majority of black Native Americans sold into slavery by whites and Indians. Slave traders were the Choctaw, the Yamasee, and other Carolina tribes. Yes. Many of these tribes like the Mandi, Mandinga, many of these tribes, we lost their names. And their names have been lost to history because of the fact, in the sense that when the European came, as he conquered these black Indians, he just made them slaves. And so over time, in a sense, their nations disappeared. Over time, in a sense, their history wasn't recorded. Over time, they were even able to deny that Aboriginal blacks even existed in America. They wanted to give our Aboriginal ancestors gifts. And the only problem with the gifts that they gave us was that often these blankets that they gave us carried smallpox. Yes, diseases. They also, in a sense, gave us another gift, rum, fire water. And this rum caused an addiction among us. And in a sense, it led to a demand for guns because it incentivized Indian slave trading. Yes, the first slaves sold in America were Indians, black Indians, selling other black Indians to Europeans to work on their cotton, not on their cotton plantations, their tobacco plantations, their rice plantations. Yes. We sold each other over here, just like in Africa, because of the fact is that we failed to understand that we are one. We should be united based upon our identity and our culture as black foundational Americans. Yes. Reparations, baby, reparations. We deserve reparations. We deserve reparations like yesterday, not just today. No, not just today. We deserve our reparations. Give us our money, baby. Cut the check.
Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough, it's time for resilience. Cut the check, black first because it's brilliant. People talk too much. Say less, remain on cold, follow the spirit. When the going gets tough.
The only thing that can save you is be one. To fight Cage, you must stay black first.